People in the Fever were like, y'all.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit going on around there.
It's a lot. Yeah. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
Remember when Cheryl Swoopes said this? DeWanna Bonner has finally broken her 6-month Twitter silence. But she didn't just drop a casual, hey, I'm back tweet. Oh no, she made a statement so bold, it rattled the entire WNBA. Not only is she officially joining the Indiana Fever, but she's also dismantling one of the league's most worn-out, unfounded narratives. The claim that Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever fans are toxic. That narrative, gone, destroyed.
This WNBA offseason killed a lot of narratives, right? It really did. And I hope they're gone for good. And I hope we spend so much less time discussing nonsense. But I think we've seen it stamped out this offseason. And one of those narratives was people wouldn't want to go to the Fever because of the Fever fan base.
You might be thinking, hold up, isn't this the team everyone loves to hate? The one players are supposedly dodging? Well, Bonner's not here for that. She saw the nonsense coming from supposed legend Cheryl Swoopes, the never-ending social media drama, and the same old tired talking points. Instead of staying silent, she's stepping up to set the record straight.
To all the crazy people on social media basically calling her every name under the sun because she chose to play in Indiana. These are the same people that are like, oh, she'll never play in Indiana for obvious reasons. And she went and defended the Indiana fans and was like, talking about, she was basically like, talking positively about the fans that were interacting with her positively, and was responding to one of the crazy posts about her being like, I'm getting screenshots of things you were saying about me. Can you just stop?
Picture this. Bonner casually scrolling through her phone, likely enjoying a peaceful moment, when she comes across yet another wave of misinformation, fans wondering why she'd join Indiana, analysts still holding on to the outdated belief that no one wants to play for the Fever. Instead of brushing it off, Bonner did something way more impactful.
It goes to show you that I think hopefully all that stuff has been put in the rear view, and of course Bonner is a pro.
She didn't just respond, she shut it down with one flawlessly crafted tweet. It wasn't just about defending herself. She went all in for Indiana Fever fans. She basically said, y'all are loud, passionate, and real. That's not toxic. That's what true fandom looks like. And just like that, the conversation was over.
I don't get on here often because this app is insanely too much sometimes. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the love I've received so far. Deaf, not unnoticed. The love is real.
But she didn't stop there. Bonner called out the hypocrisy, shining a light on the double standard and how fan bases are treated differently. Why is it that when fans from other teams show passion, it's called support, but when Indiana Fever fans do the same, it's suddenly an issue? And why is it that when the Fever start winning and getting national attention, all of a sudden, the haters have a problem with the fans? Bonner wasn't just making a personal statement, she was calling out the league-wide bias that shadowed Indiana ever since Caitlin Clark stepped in.
She's gone online for 2 times. One is to call out the crazy people attacking her right now because she joined the Fever.
This isn't just about fan reactions, it's about respect. Something Indiana Fever fans and players have been denied for way too long. And Bonner? She's done letting the lies slide. What makes this even more powerful is that Bonner isn't some young player chasing attention. She's a legend, a multi-time WNBA champion, and one of the most respected figures in the game. When she speaks, the entire league pays attention. This isn't just another player venting on social media. This is a seasoned veteran, someone who's lived through different eras of WNBA history, stepping up to call out the nonsense and stand up for her new team.
You know, Fever fans are probably starving for that. And I think seeing the validation of the players choosing their team.
Bonner made it crystal clear. Indiana isn't some struggling franchise just trying to stay afloat. With Caitlin Clark at the helm, the Fever are building something special. They're not just aiming to be competitive, they're coming for the top teams in the league, and Bonner is all in on that mission. She's not just joining Indiana, she's becoming part of a movement.
And it's funny because if you're seeing like Duana Bonner, if you're seeing like Natasha Howard, on social media, Natasha Howard's posts are getting 100 times more likes, and Duana Bonner's been reacted more positively probably than she ever has been in her career.
And the best part? The response to her tweet has been huge. Indiana Fever fans are backing her like never before, and the same people who swore nobody wanted to play for Indiana, they're all of a sudden silent. Cheryl Swoopes? Nowhere to be found.
What it do, peeps? Cheryl Swoopes is been missing. Cheryl Swoopes is MIA. They got a APB out for Cheryl Swoopes. If you see Cheryl Swoopes, she did a lot of talking a few months ago about the Indiana Fever, the locker room environment, how people didn't want to play there, how people wanted to leave.
Now, all that's left is to watch the haters scramble to rewrite history. They'll act like they never claimed Indiana wasn't a desirable team. They'll pretend they weren't downplaying Caitlin Clark's impact. But at this point, it's too late. The Indiana Fever have already won the battle off the court, and now they're gearing up to take it to the court too.
That thank you from Duana Bonner, being olive branch to us all to focus on the basketball. But I did think it was worth sharing simply because I know a lot of those fans, the new fans, felt rejected and beaten down a lot. And I think this is symbolic.
Duana Bonner, Caitlin Clark, and the Fever aren't just putting together a team. They're rewriting the future of the WNBA. And if the rest of the league isn't paying attention yet, they'll be forced to soon. You've probably heard all the noise about the Indiana Fever fan base, right? The narrative that their fans are supposedly toxic or too intense, and that players are supposedly dodging the team because of it. Well, let's be real here. That storyline fell apart quicker than a bad defensive rotation. And you know who kicked this whole mess off? Alyssa Thomas? Yep, Bonner's own wife was out here stirring the pot, claiming that Fever fans were so unbearable, players wanted nothing to do with Indiana.
In my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it, and we've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media.
Here's the plot twist. Despite all that noise, star players aren't running from the Fever. They're running toward them. Duana Bonner, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, and Sydney Colson didn't just sign with the team. They embraced it. These aren't just role players looking for minutes on a struggling franchise. These are battle-tested veterans and high-impact stars who saw all the headlines about a so-called bad fan base and still said, yeah, I want to be part of that.
No argument that the Fever are a great basketball destination, that Caitlin Clark is a great basketball.
Let's talk numbers, because, as always, they don't lie. Indiana Fever fan engagement is off the charts. We're talking sold-out arenas, merchandise flying off the shelves, and social media interaction hitting record highs. This isn't some struggling franchise barely hanging on. This is a team that's become the pulse of the WNBA, and at the heart of it all is Caitlin Clark. She's not just attracting new fans, she's turning casual viewers into die-hard supporters.
The Fever fan base, being painted with this broad brushstroke, was always just stupid, really. There's no other word for it, because Caitlin Clark brought more fans to the league than it's ever seen. So many of them are Fever fans, and the new fans that come in outnumber the old fans that were already there. You don't want to tell those people they're unwelcome.
Think about how absurd this all sounds. Just a few years ago, Indiana was written off as an afterthought in the WNBA. Now, they're the hottest ticket in town. It's like judging an entire restaurant off one bad Yelp review. It just doesn't make sense. The reality is, Every team's got a few bad apples in their fan base. That's just sports. But to act like Indiana's supporters are some kind of exception, that's just reaching. So what's really going on here? Why are people so quick to attack Fever fans? The answer's simple. Because Indiana is winning. Not just on the court, but in the fight for relevance, attention, and influence. They're no longer an afterthought, and that makes some people uneasy. Instead of acknowledging that Indiana Fever fans are the heart of something special, the haters would rather push this weird, baseless narrative that players don't want to play there.
And a lot of fans, I think, felt unwelcome as a result of that, because when you look at every sport and every fan base, there are going to be bad apples. With every group of people, there are. And the larger that group becomes, of course, then the larger the small percentage of bad apples are. But if you've ever followed sports, you see people acting stupid online or even live at games.
And yet, reality paints a different picture. If Indiana Fever fans were really that bad, why are top-tier players lining up to sign contracts? Would DeWanna Bonner, a multi-time champion, choose to finish her career in a place where she felt unwanted? Would Natasha Howard, a former Defensive Player of the Year, commit to a team with a toxic culture? The answer is clear. These players see something the haters refuse to admit. The WNBA landscape is shifting, and Indiana is right at the center of it. Just a year ago, people laughed at the idea of the Fever being a desirable destination. Now, they're scrambling to figure out how everything changed so fast. Caitlin Clark isn't just a generational talent. She's a headline magnet, a sellout machine, and the kind of player who makes a franchise relevant overnight.
The Indiana Fever are that golden destination, and I can't help but laugh to the fans and the people online and the media commentators, unfortunately, who said that nobody wanted to play in Indiana. That doesn't make any sense.
Cheryl Swoopes is truly on a downward spiral. She stood tall, puffed out her chest, and boldly claimed that Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever wouldn't be able to land top free agents. Fast forward a few months, and here we are. Indiana just pulled off one of the most successful free agency periods in league history. Meanwhile, Cheryl is left looking like a broken Magic 8 ball, constantly wrong and desperately hoping for a better outcome. Someone should check on her because, at this point, the Fever's dominance has completely obliterated any credibility she had left.
People in the Fever were like, y'all.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit
like
going
it's
on around there.
It's a lot. Yeah. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
Let's take a moment to reset. Yes, Cheryl Swoopes is a Hall of Famer and a true legend of the game. But lately, she's been clocking in as a full-time Caitlin Clark skeptic, working overtime to push some questionable opinions. She boldly stated that the Fever wouldn't be able to attract top-tier talent due to alleged locker room issues. And yet, here we are. The contracts are signed, the deals are sealed, and Indiana just assembled a powerhouse squad, while Cheryl stands on the sidelines, trying to pretend she didn't completely miss the mark with another prediction.
Stephanie White came in and said, okay, hold up. Let me go to Indeed.com and Indeed get some free agents to come in here that want to play, that are accomplished, seasoned veterans. She did all that. Cheryl's been nowhere to been found. Cheryl got a lot of crow to eat, folks. Cheryl could be choking on crow right now. She need that Heimlich maneuver. If you see Cheryl Swoopes, tell her it's okay to come out and talk and say, man, you was wrong. It's okay.
I can only picture Cheryl scrolling through her phone in disbelief, muttering to herself, no way these players actually chose Indiana. But yep, it happened. Natasha Howard, Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, and even Asia Wilson's close friend, Sydney Colson, are all now part of the Fever. They didn't just win free agency, they completely dominated it. When Colson was asked why she decided to join Indiana,
yeah, I talked to Sydney Colson today. She said that Kelsey Mitchell was actually the first person she hit up because they built a bond. here, playing AU for the last 3 years. She said she heard some good things about Caitlin Clark from her Aces teammate Kate Martin as well, so that made the decision easy.
Oh, the irony. She specifically mentioned wanting to play alongside Kelsey Mitchell, one of the very players Cheryl had previously dismissed. And of course, she wanted to team up with Caitlin Clark, the same Caitlin Clark Cheryl confidently said would need years to adjust to the WNBA. Years, really? Meanwhile, Clark is out here effortlessly dropping 40-point games, while Swoopes' predictions are aging like a gallon of milk left out in the sun.
3 WNBA MVPs in your career. Would you consider each of those 3 seasons as dominant seasons for yourself?
No.
I can't. Bro, Cheryl Swoopes is willing to lie about her own career before she even admits that Caitlin is dominant.
At this point, bashing Caitlin Clark has turned into a full-blown sport, and Cheryl Swoopes is gunning for the gold. In fact, she's probably sweeping the podium, gold, silver, and bronze, standing there with a scowl while the Fever celebrate yet another major win. Oh, Caitlin won't adjust to the WNBA? Yeah, tell that to Indiana, who's stacking elite talent like they're putting together the Avengers. Caitlin Clark isn't struggling, she's thriving, and the Fever are right alongside her, proving every doubter, including Swoopes, dead wrong.
No, but players who will be free agents next year, there's a lot of other going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Let's be real. The reason some WNBA veterans and self-proclaimed legends can't stand Caitlin Clark is because she didn't wait her turn. She didn't ask for permission. She didn't ease into the league with a meek, I hope I fit in attitude. She walked in, shattered 62 records, connected with the fans, and single-handedly took women's basketball to new heights. And that? Oh, that absolutely eats them up inside.
What it do, peeps? Cheryl Swoopes is been missing. Cheryl Swoopes is MIA. They got a APB out for Cheryl Swoopes. If you see Cheryl Swoopes, she did a lot of talking a few months ago about the Indiana Fever, the locker room environment, how people didn't want to play there, how people wanted to leave.
Caitlin Clark didn't need anyone's approval to become the face of the sport. She's gained more global recognition than half the WNBA combined, and it's not her fault. That's just what happens when you're a once-in-a-generation talent. Cheryl Swoopes, Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, and the entire anti-Clark crew will have to come to terms with that, because while they're busy complaining, Caitlin is out here making history, selling out arenas, and turning the Indiana Fever into the team everyone wants to play for.
A lot of people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness.
So, Cheryl, what happened to players not wanting to go to Indiana? Who were you talking to? The ghosts of teams past? Because real top-tier players are signing with the Fever like it's the VIP section of an exclusive club. Or did she really think Caitlin Clark would have to beg people to join her?
Went even further when a game that Cheryl Swoopes was calling for the Dallas Wings, where the commentator was talking about how great Caitlin Clark had been playing. Cheryl Swoopes, silent for 60 seconds, didn't even want to address it. And it got so bad that the game that Dallas then went to play against the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark after the domination of the Chicago Sky, Cheryl Swoopes got pulled from the broadcast.
Somebody check on Cheryl because she's clearly stuck in 2002. Back when the Indiana Fever were scraping together rosters like they were hosting open tryouts at the local YMCA. Newsflash, times have changed. This isn't Tamika Catchings carrying a team of part-time gym teachers to the playoffs anymore. The Fever aren't struggling to recruit talent. They're stacked. Natasha Howard, a defensive powerhouse, a champion, and an offensive force all in one. When she signed with Indiana, she made it clear she wanted to be here.
It's going to be Caitlin Clark Flash Show. So it's going to be phenomenal playing with a point guard, like you said, that have a good vision on the court. Because that's like as soon as she gets the ball in her hand, she's throwing it up because she already see the person down the court before she even get the ball in her hand. So that's one thing I love about her vision on the court. I really can't wait to catch all those passes and give her all the assists that she needs.
DeWanna Bonner, a walking mismatch, a dominant scorer, and one of the WNBA's elite veterans. And what did she do the moment she joined Indiana? She hit Twitter and went to battle with all the Fever haters, setting the tone before even stepping onto the court.
I think she's a great player. I'm happy to be on the side of her now instead of guarding her. Of course, she's a dynamic player, and you see that in what she's done in her rookie year. And I'm actually excited to see what she's going to do her second year in the league with a little bit, more experience and understanding a little bit more. So
Sophie Cunningham, bringing the spice, the swagger, and enough trash talk to last the whole season. And who did she want to team up with? You guessed it, Caitlin Clark.
To be honest, I am just so excited to be here. I'm from the Midwest, and so for me to kind of get back to my roots and be close to my family, I'm so excited. Like when I say that I am refreshed and I am motivated, and I just kind of feel like my spark is back. Everyone thinks I've been feisty. You've not even seen the feisty side of me yet, so this should be really fun. But for me, I'm excited to be closer to home. I'm excited to deep dive into the community of Indiana. I've already met a lot of really cool people. I'm excited to inspire the next generation of young boys and girls around here, get to know the community more, but I promise you that I'm just ready to just win.
And then there's Sydney Colson. Look, she might not be dropping 25 a night, but she's about to transform that locker room into the most electric, high-energy environment the Fever have ever had. The chemistry? Through the roof. See a pattern here? These aren't just bench players being moved around for depth. These are legit WNBA stars and key contributors choosing Indiana, choosing to play alongside the Fab Four of Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull. So while Cheryl Swoopes is scrambling to defend yet another one of her terrible takes, the Indiana Fever are quietly building something special. Maybe someone should get Cheryl an eye exam because she clearly wasn't talking about Indiana. Perhaps she meant the Las Vegas Aces, desperately slashing ticket prices, or the Chicago Sky, who just lost their leading scorer with no backup plan, or maybe the Connecticut Sun, a team that's falling apart right before our eyes. Meanwhile, Indiana? They're not here just to compete. They're here to dominate.
Cheryl Swoopes, this is kind of what you get for kind of not jumping on the tide, jumping on the boat. You were supposed to go and elevate with this whole situation. Your broadcasting career, everything, Cheryl. Your podcasting, whatever you do, you're supposed to be elevating. But instead, you decided to show hate, very clear hate towards Caitlin Clark.
Did you really think you could spread falsehoods about Caitlin Clark for an entire year and keep your broadcasting position? That's the question no one had to ask Cheryl Swoopes, because the answer is clear. She's been officially removed from all WNBA broadcasts for the 2025 season.
She got fired, but it looked like you got fired, bro. It looked like she got fired. I just gotta keep it real. It looked like she got fired.
The dismissal isn't about just one poor opinion or a single mistake. It's the result of a deliberate campaign targeting the WNBA's rising star, and the league has finally had enough. Curious about what actually happened behind the scenes? In this video, we'll dive into the details of the situation, how she's handling the fallout, and why she ultimately lost her job. Ready to find out? Let's get into it.
I won't be missing you broadcasting the games because when you broadcasted the games, it was so hard for you to mention Caitlin Clark. How are you up there talking about, you kept mentioning, oh, the Indiana Fever are doing this. Oh, Kelsey Mitchell and the Indiana Fever. Oh, Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell and those girls are doing. Oh, you had such the hardest time mentioning Caitlin Clark's name. Why? I don't get it. I really don't know.
Did you know Cheryl Swoopes has a history of getting fired? Before the recent broadcasting controversy, she had already built a concerning track record that goes back years, while her Hall of Fame playing career earned her recognition as one of the WNBA's trailblazing stars. Her career after basketball has been marked by a recurring pattern of troubling behavior.
Loyola University basketball coach Cheryl Swoopes, she's under investigation, accused of mistreating players. College coach is not only under fire, but under investigation after reports that the majority of her roster has decided to leave.
The warning signs were impossible to ignore at Loyola University in Chicago. In July 2016, Swoopes was let go as head coach after a mass exodus of players, something that should have set off major alarms for anyone thinking of hiring her again. What kind of coach loses 10 out of 12 returning players in just one season? That's not typical turnover. That's a full-blown crisis in your program.
That she mistreated players.
It was the environment she created
I was belittled, humiliated, made to feel extremely small.
Head coach since 2013. Last year, 5 of her players reportedly transferred to different programs. And this year, a reported 10 of the team's 12 players aren't planning on coming back.
Former Loyola player Kate Sohn didn't hold back when discussing Swoopes' coaching style. Just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're a great coach. She seems to thrive off drama wherever she goes. The drama is always there. Other players spoke about an emotionally unstable atmosphere, where Swoopes would cry during games and practices, threaten scholarships, and share personal details inappropriately. Being a great player doesn't guarantee success as a mentor, and Swoopes clearly shows how that disconnect can manifest.
Former Loyola basketball player Kate Sohn says Swoopes caused the players to live in fear, that she routinely threatened that they would lose their scholarships or she would cut them from the team.
It made it hard to play. It wasn't about working hard and having fun anymore. It was about surviving.
The situation with Lauren Hibbert stands out as particularly troubling. Hibbert claims Swoopes pressured her into signing a medical hardship form, which ended her athletic career, with the false assurance that she would stay on as a team manager. When Hibbert later found out she wouldn't even be traveling with the team, the sense of betrayal was complete. This manipulation led to formal complaints and ultimately played a role in Swoopes' dismissal. Fast forward to 2024, and we see the same dismissive and unsupportive behavior aimed at Caitlin Clark. During her infamous February appearance on Gil's Arena, Swoopes couldn't even get basic facts right. She wrongly stated Clark was in her 5th college season, when it was actually her 4th. She also claimed Clark took 40 shots per game, a gross exaggeration considering Clark averaged 22.7. These weren't mere mistakes. They seemed deliberately intended to downplay Clark's accomplishments.
Caitlin Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Here we go.
I know you like that.
Hell yeah.
I said that because when she comes to the league, regardless of what team she goes to that has vets on that team, she probably ain't gonna get 40 shots a game.
What was even more telling was Swoopes' dismissive tone when discussing Clark's record-breaking achievements. She remarked, "So is it truly a broken record? I don't know. I don't think so." When asked about Clark's potential in the WNBA, Swoopes bluntly stated, "Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now immediately? Absolutely not. Not going to happen." The disdain was unmistakable.
You asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
These weren't isolated incidents, but part of a year-long campaign that revealed more about Swoopes than about Clark. The pattern is clear. When others succeed or challenge her authority, Swoopes responds with hostility rather than support. Whether it's college players transferring in droves or a rising star shattering records, Swoopes seems unable to celebrate others' success without feeling threatened. This toxic behavior eventually caught up with her at the Dallas Wings, where her commentary became too controversial even for a league that usually defends its legends. The consistent threads between her firing at Loyola and her removal from broadcasting paint a picture of someone who has never learned to adapt or grow from criticism. So, what really happened with Dallas last year?
And then obviously you guys remember last year when Dallas had to pretty much say, hey, you can't broadcast Indiana Fever game after the little comments and things you had the game before or something like that. Yeah, I believe it was that. And Nancy Lieberman was the one who pretty much confronted Cheryl Swoopes about the whole situation and let her know, like, hey, you know, we got to keep it this, we got to keep it that, keep it about basketball.
The Wings broadcast controversy wasn't just about Caitlin Clark. It was about Swoopes making enemies in all the wrong places. When basketball royalty starts publicly calling out one of their own, it's clear something major is happening behind the scenes. That's exactly what occurred when Swoopes found herself in the crosshairs of two of basketball's most influential figures, Stephen A. Smith and Nancy Lieberman.
You know basketball. You know basketball better than me. You know basketball than any of the pundits. You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlin Clark's name out of that soliloquy that you dropped about the Indiana Fever. Stop it. You know that. Stop it.
Stephen A. Smith never hesitated to speak his mind. He didn't just disagree with Swoopes. He dismantled her credibility on national television. In one particularly harsh segment, Smith directly questioned her motives for consistently failing to recognize Caitlin Clark's contributions to the Indiana Fever's success. "Do you have any idea how that makes you look?" Smith challenged, his voice growing more intense. "How are you going to ignore Caitlin Clark?" What made Smith's rebuke so damaging wasn't just his massive platform, but his sharp insinuation that Swoopes' silence about Clark was intentional and unprofessional. Given her extensive basketball knowledge, her failure to acknowledge Clark's impact seemed impossible to justify.
I've known Cheryl since she was in college. I helped do her shoe deal with Nike in 1993, took her to her first SBs. I've known Cheryl, I've coached her, have a lot of respect for her. I called her when Caitlin was still playing at Iowa and she had just broken Maravich's record. And it was all over the place, as you and I have discussed, that, you know, there was this quote by Cheryl that said, you know, Caitlin was, 25 years old. She was, however old, 24 years old. She was a fifth-year senior. Right. She was taking 40 shots a game.
Picking a fight with Stephen A. Smith was just the beginning of Swoopes' professional downfall. Nancy Lieberman, a broadcasting colleague and former friend, took things even further. After hearing Swoopes' comments about Caitlin Clark, Lieberman reportedly called Swoopes directly to confront her about the inaccuracies in her statements. That conversation clearly went badly. So badly that Lieberman later confirmed their relationship was essentially over. The fallout was swift and deeply embarrassing. In a twist almost too perfect for maximum humiliation, Lieberman ended up replacing Swoopes on the Dallas Wings broadcasts. This wasn't just a simple personnel change. It was a public declaration of who held credibility in basketball circles. Lieberman's willingness to challenge Swoopes and then take her job spoke volumes about just how far Swoopes had fallen professionally.
That's what Nancy was all about. She was keeping it very, hey, let's bring this women's game let's bring it all together. Let's grow this thing together. And the question was talking about how older people or older players in the league pretty much should going about what's going on in the league. And Nancy knows Caitlin Clark is the biggest. She's got the eyes. She's got the fans. Let's not try to sink it. Let's try to get on the boat with her, and let's grow the game.
These explosive confrontations didn't just damage Swoopes' reputation with fans. They shut her out within the professional basketball community. When heavyweights like Stephen A. Smith and Nancy Lieberman publicly challenge your integrity, networks and organizations take notice. For the Dallas Wings and their broadcast partner, these feuds likely confirmed what viewer complaints had already hinted at. Swoopes had become more of a liability than an asset to their brand. With all this baggage weighing her down, how will it affect Swoopes in the 2025 season?
Loyola University basketball coach Cheryl Swoopes, she's under investigation accused of mistreating players. One of them is speaking out this morning, telling us why she wanted to transfer. ABC's Lindsay Davis is here with the details. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Lara. Cheryl Swoopes was the first woman to ever sign with the WNBA. But this morning, the college coach is not only under fire, but under investigation after reports that the majority of her roster has decided to leave.
They fired her. They didn't just replace Cheryl Swoopes, they booted her out. And why? Because of Caitlin Clark.
There's a lot of other going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit going
it's
on
a lot.
around there.
It's a lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah,
this year.
now listen.
Months ago, Swoopes sat on her high horse predicting disaster for the Indiana Fever. She, Miss Caitlin Clark, boldly claimed no one would want to play in Indiana and confidently declared that top-tier talent would never sign there.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. As always, appreciate your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. Let's go. So I wanted to do a little bit of a dive into the Fever roster, what that looks like. Now that we've gotten through the bulk of the free agency offseason, we've seen a lot of changes.
Fast forward to today, and the Fever just made the most game-changing free agency move in WNBA history.
The way they came back the second game, it just makes you excited to, okay, I want to be a part of that. They didn't lay down and quit. They came back and actually try to beat us early, that next game. So.
Superstar signings, game changers, and swoops.
So y'all can record this, you cannot record it, but the biggest thing I want everybody to hear me say right now.
She's been strangely silent. Ever seen someone talk a big game, then disappear? That's exactly what's going down right now. Indiana just dropped a statement that's sending ripples through the entire league, and we're here to dissect every bit of it.
All right, Hoop Queens, gather around because we've got some major tea brewing in the WNBA. Indiana Fever just landed Brianna Turner in free agency. Brianna Turner, let that sink in.
Before we dive into the good stuff, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Keep up with all the latest WNBA news, expert analysis, and the drama you won't get anywhere else. Now, let's get into it.
But I think you're starting to get a little bit more shine from maybe the casual fan, and maybe some folks who maybe didn't know or haven't seen Indiana as much as they've seen this year.
I agree.
So what's that part like, getting that little bit more attention and getting a little bit more shine and getting the recognition that...
The Indiana Fever just shook up free agency like never before. They didn't just add players, they built a juggernaut. You know that feeling when you go all out in franchise mode on a video game? Well, that's exactly what Indiana just did. They went all in, loading up their roster with seasoned champions, fierce competitors, and players who've got both game and attitude. This wasn't just another offseason, it was a full-on power play.
Yes. Wait. Yep. You look good on me, huh? Look good. Like a whole 360. Like, I think I was talking to my wife about it. I'm like, man, what if I go back to Indiana where I started? That'd be crazy. Look where I'm at.
First up, they snagged Natasha Howard, a 3-time WNBA champion and one of the fiercest defensive forces around. Howard doesn't just defend, she shuts players down. Her ability to lock down anyone, protect the rim, and control the boards takes Indiana's defense to a whole new level.
Going for your services, Dawana, so why was this the right opportunity for you?
I just feel like it was the location for one. My kids are literally right up the road, and I've spent a lot of time away from them, so that and the core that they have here now is just kind of want to fit in, and be another piece to the puzzle, and hopefully bring the energy dynamic and take us to a different level in the playoffs.
Next up, they brought in Dawana Bonner, a scoring powerhouse who's a nightmare for any defender. Bonner adds leadership, championship pedigree, and that clutch gene that turns the Fever into a serious playoff contender.
In Sophie Cunningham, the Indiana Fever are trading for a multi-dimensional wing, capable of knocking down the 3-ball.
Cunningham is starting to cook. Cunningham 3 is good.
Cunningham from the corner, locking down defenders.
Several deflections, and this time she gets the steal and the N1 opportunity.
And they weren't finished yet. Enter Sophie Cunningham, a walking spark plug, bold, trash-talking, and always ready to ignite her team and the crowd. She thrives in clutch moments, playing with a chip on her shoulder, exactly the kind of energy Indiana was craving. And to cap it all off, they added Sydney Colson, a seasoned vet with championship DNA, the kind of player who holds it all together behind the scenes. Colson's leadership in the locker room will be just as vital as what she brings on the court. This isn't just a team full of talent, it's a roadmap to success. The Fever didn't sit around waiting for greatness. They went out and created it.
And that's where you brought up the fever. I think what I've learned in my WNBA experience is pace of play trumps physicality, it trumps size, it can trump experience, because a lot of times when you're experienced, it's really like code word for your veteran, which is code word for your old.
Slow the pace.
Yeah. So I feel like
I know that's why you guys were so good for those years.
In 2018 and 2020, the years we won, that was our whole mantra, was pace, 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 pace. And what I see in Caitlin.
For months, the media pushed the same old story. Nobody wants to play for Indiana. The franchise was labeled a dead zone, a place elite players wouldn't even think about. Analysts wrote off the Fever, critics laughed off any chance of big signings, and Cheryl Swoopes all but mocked the idea of Indiana drawing in top-tier free agents. To most, the Fever were just another struggling team with no real appeal in the league.
Her face, unable to hit. Bree Jones, another 0 board for Connecticut. Better look for Mabry. Off the mark.
But here we are now. Indiana didn't just sign free agents, they snagged some of the top talent out there. The same team everyone claimed couldn't draw stars just assembled one of the most lethal rosters in the WNBA. Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson. These aren't just bodies filling spots. These are game changers, battle-tested vets, players who could have signed anywhere but chose Indiana. That alone smashes the false narrative about the Fever being a dead-end destination. Now, the same analysts who wrote them off are scrambling. That nobody wants to play there, take, gone, like expired milk. The entire perception of the Fever flipped overnight, and it all boils down to one undeniable truth. They built a culture players want to be part of. With Caitlin Clark in the mix, a front office making bold moves, and a roster that's suddenly one of the league's best, Indiana isn't just back, they're a problem.
Oh, it's a triple-double for Caitlin. What a reaction by Colson. Well, how about the knowledgeable fans in this building? They burst out of their seats like it was a game winner.
Let's cut to the chase. This is the Caitlin Clark effect, plain and simple. Caitlin Clark isn't just any rookie trying to find her footing in the league. She's a franchise-changing force. The kind of player who doesn't just lift her team, but redefines the entire WNBA landscape. The Indiana Fever, a team that's been stuck in the mud for years, is suddenly the most talked about squad in the league, and that's no fluke. Clark's arrival has turned this franchise into a destination, one that's not only worth watching, but one that top players actually want to join.
So when you talk about the young girls that came in, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, rookie class, really hyping up the league coming from college to the WNBA, what has that done for you and the buzz of this entire league?
I think it's so positive. I really do. I think it's a fun time to be a part of the W. I truly believe that. I think the skill and the talent has always been there, but now it's just the viewership. And so I give a big old clap to the rookie class. I think that's a lot to deal with when you're at that age and you have that many eyes on you. But I think they've done a great job in the league as well. I think the physicality and all that they're going to get used to, but I think especially Caitlin Clark, she's been killing it.
When Sophie Cunningham signed with Indiana, she didn't sugarcoat it. Caitlin Clark was a factor. Players aren't just hearing about Clark's insane shooting range or flashy assists. They're hearing about her leadership, her competitive edge, and her ability to elevate those around her. That's the kind of player you want to play with. She's a magnet, drawing both talent and attention to a team that used to be flying under the radar.
I'm going to use her word. I want to see her continue to be a dog, because she is a dog. Here's what I'll say about Angel. I love the fact that she's just her, right? And she says she's unapologetically Angel. She plays hard, both ends of the floor. It doesn't matter what the score is. The thing that I think people question wasn't so much about her game or her rebounding, but it was the scoring. And the fact that she is either averaging or almost averaging a double-double. It's pretty impressive to do from anybody, but in particular a rookie. I just love how she's come into this league. She's embraced the bumps, the bruises. She's embraced the good with the bad. And I love watching her play because she plays hard the entire game.
Let's talk about Cheryl Swoopes. She thought Clark was overhyped, just another college standout who'd take years to make her mark in the pros. But the truth? Clark is already leading the league in assists, dropping 40-point games like it's no big deal, and flipping the power dynamics in the WNBA. Indiana isn't just improving, they're becoming a serious threat, and Clark's the one making it happen.
Pin down here, wide open.
We might need to update.
Caitlin Clark's impact goes way beyond what's happening on the court. Yeah, she's lighting up defenses and setting records, but what's unfolding off the floor is just as game-changing. She's driving record ticket sales, smashing TV viewership numbers, and getting people to care about the WNBA like never before. Every Fever game feels like an event, and any matchup with Clark, must-watch TV. This isn't just a rising star. This is a movement.
Swoopes has it, turns in the air for the game.
Before becoming one of the most electrifying players in WNBA history, Cheryl Swoopes was a sensation on the college stage, leading Texas Tech to the 1993 NCAA title with a record-setting 47-point performance in the championship game.
Cheryl Swoopes didn't see this coming. She thought Clark would have to earn her place, struggle, and prove herself over time. Instead, Clark stepped into the league and immediately took it by storm. Now, she's the main reason why the Indiana Fever has become the go-to spot for top-tier talent. Players want to team up with her, coaches want to build around her, and fans can't get enough. The old guard of the WNBA wasn't ready for this, but now they've got no choice but to accept it. For years, the WNBA waited for a player who could change the game, someone who could bring mainstream attention, pack arenas, and spark a real shift in the sport. The truth? That player's already here. Caitlin Clark isn't waiting her turn. She's rewriting the rules in real time.
What it do, peeps? Cheryl Swoopes is been missing. Cheryl Swoopes is MIA. They got a APB out for Cheryl Swoopes. If you see Cheryl Swoopes, she did a lot of talking a few months ago about the Indiana Fever, the locker room environment, how people didn't want to play there, how people wanted to leave.
Cheryl Swoopes really missed the mark this time. With a bold stance and a voice full of certainty, she boldly claimed that Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were doomed to fail in attracting top-tier free agents. But fast forward, and the Fever just pulled off one of the most impressive free agency hauls the league has ever seen. As for Cheryl, well, she's now the human equivalent of a malfunctioning Magic 8 ball, constantly wrong every step of the way.
People in the Fever were like, y'all.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some
So
new shit
that-
some new
yeah, like
shit's
it's
going
a
on
lot.
around there.
It's a lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
Let's hit rewind for a second. Cheryl Swoopes, Hall of Famer, basketball icon, no doubt. But these days, she's clocking in full-time as a professional skeptic, putting in some serious overtime. With all her experience, she boldly declared that the Fever would never land elite players because of supposed locker room drama. And yet, here we are, contracts signed, deals sealed, and Indiana just built a powerhouse. Meanwhile, Cheryl's left watching from the sidelines, looking a little foolish, probably brainstorming her next questionable hot take.
Stephanie White came in and said, okay, hold up. Let me go to Indeed.com and Indeed get some free agents to come in here that want to play, that are accomplished, seasoned veterans. She did all that. Cheryl's been nowhere to be found. Cheryl got a lot of crow to eat, folks. Cheryl could be choking on crow right now. She need that Heimlich maneuver. If you see Cheryl Swoopes, tell her it's okay to come out and talk and say, man, you was wrong. It's okay.
I can picture Cheryl scrolling through her phone like, no way these players picked Indiana. But surprise, Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, and even Asia Wilson's best friend, Sydney Colson, are all in the Fever. They didn't just win free agency, they absolutely cooked it. And when Colson was asked why she signed with Indiana, let's roll the footage.
Yeah, I talked to Sydney Colson today about her signing with Indiana. She said that Kelsey Mitchell was actually the first person she hit up because they built a bond here, playing AU for the last 3 years. She said she heard some good things about Caitlin Clark from her Aces teammate Kate Martin as well, so that made the decision easy.
Exactly. She was drawn to playing alongside Kelsey Mitchell, a longtime friend, and the rising star, Caitlin Clark. These were the very two players Cheryl Swoopes wrote off just months ago. And here's the kicker. This is the same Cheryl who said Caitlin Clark would need years to get used to the WNBA. Years? Seriously? Clark's out here casually dropping 40 points like it's nothing, while Swoopes' predictions are aging about as well as spoiled milk.
3 WNBA MVPs in your career. Would you consider each of those 3 seasons as dominant seasons for yourself?
No.
I can't. Bro, Cheryl Swoopes is willing to lie about her own career before she even admits that Caitlin is dominant.
At this point, it feels like hating on Caitlin Clark has become Cheryl Swoopes' personal Olympic event, and she's snagging gold. Actually, she's probably sweeping the entire podium, gold, silver, and bronze, looking all kinds of salty while the anthem plays. Oh, Caitlin won't make the leap to the WNBA. Well, someone should let Indiana know, because they're out here stacking elite talent like they're building an all-star team. Caitlin Clark isn't just finding her footing, she's dominating, and the Fever are right there with her. Maybe it's time for Cheryl Swoopes to take a back seat, because Indiana just gave her a reality check.
No, but players who will be free agents next year, there's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Let's not fool ourselves. The real reason some of these WNBA vets and self-proclaimed legends can't stand Caitlin Clark is because she didn't play by their rules. She didn't wait her turn or ask for permission to stand out. Nah, she waltzed in, shattered 62 records in her rookie season, embraced the fans, and took the sport to new global heights. And, oh, does that sting for them? You bet it does.
The Indiana Fever are that golden destination, and I can't help but laugh to the fans and the people online and the media commentators, unfortunately, who said that nobody wanted to play in Indiana. That doesn't make any sense.
Caitlin Clark didn't need anyone's approval to claim her spot as the face of women's basketball. She's got more global recognition than half the league combined, and that's not by accident. That's the power of being a generational talent. Cheryl Swoopes, Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, and the rest of the Caitlin haters are just going to have to live with it. While they're busy throwing shade, Caitlin is out here racking up accolades, selling out arenas, and making the Indiana Fever the hottest ticket in town. And let's take a moment to appreciate this. The Indiana Fever, the team once overlooked by everyone, are now the center of the basketball world. The former league underdog is now the squad every player wants to join. Now that's what you call shifting the entire landscape.
You know, a lot of people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness.
So, Cheryl, what happened to that claim about players not wanting to go to Indiana? Who exactly were you talking to? The ghosts of teams long gone? Because real, relevant players are lining up to join the Fever like it's the VIP section of an exclusive club. Did she honestly think Caitlin Clark would have to beg anyone to team up with her? Let's be real here.
Went even further when a game that Cheryl Swoopes was calling for the Dallas Wings, where the commentator was talking about how great Caitlin Clark had been playing. Cheryl Swoopes, silent for 60 seconds, didn't even want to address it. And it got so bad that the game that Dallas then went to play against the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark after the domination of the Chicago Sky, Cheryl Swoopes got pulled from the broadcast.
Someone better check on Cheryl because she's clearly stuck in 2002 when the Fever were stumbling through mediocrity like it was some kind of team-building drill. Sis, things have shifted. This isn't Tamika Catchings trying to lift a squad of part-time gym teachers. The Indiana Fever are stacked now. Natasha Howard, a champion, defensive powerhouse, and certified scorer. Here's what she had to say when she signed on with the team.
It's going to be Caitlin Clark Flash Show. So it's going to be phenomenal playing with a point guard, like you said, that have a good vision on the court. Because that's like as soon as she gets the ball in her hand, she's throwing it up because she already see the person down the court before she even get the ball in her hand. So that's one thing I love about her vision on the court. I really can't wait to catch all those passes and give her all the assists that she needs.
DeWanna Bonner, standing tall at 6 feet 4 inches, a walking mismatch, an elite scorer, and a key player in the WNBA's top tier. And guess what? She just fired back at all the Fever doubters on Twitter. Then there's Sophie Cunningham, bringing the heat, the confidence, and enough smack talk to shake any arena. So, who did she want to team up with?
Why does everybody hate Caitlin Clark? And do you hate Caitlin Clark? Come on, talk
dude.
to me.
Absolutely not. I think that she's a gem. I didn't know her, but All-Star Weekend, we kind of bantered back and forth a little bit. And she's lovely. She has a lot of pressure on her shoulders. And I think a lot of people always have a lot to say with people they don't even know or shoes they've never been in. And for me, I think she's handling the pressure very well. She's doing a lot of great things for women's basketball. And I'm a fan. Like, I would love to play with her one day, for real.
And Sydney Colson, whether she's logging major minutes or not, is about to transform the Fever locker room into the most fun, high-energy space the team has ever seen. The chemistry? Off the charts. Do we sense a trend here? They all chose Indiana. They all decided to play with the core group of Caitlin, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull. So while Cheryl Swoopes is busy crafting her next misguided hot take, the Fever are out here building a dynasty. Maybe it's time someone hands Cheryl a pair of glasses because she might be talking about the wrong team. Could she be referring to the Las Vegas Aces, the Chicago Sky, or the Connecticut Sun, all of which seem to be falling apart? The Fever are here, and they're not just showing up. They're taking over.
You know that I'm very excited, and I really agree with a lot of the moves the Indiana Fever have made. There's not been one trade or pickup that the Indiana Fever have made that I have not been on board with. I'm on board with every single one. And I just want to say the fact that the Indiana Fever have gone out and got these great players like a Natasha Howard, like a DeWanna Bonner, like a Sophie Cunningham, the fact that they've gone out and got these great players shows that they believe Caitlin Clark is great right now. They are on board with the Caitlin Clark vision, and it just makes me happy, because they're not treating Caitlin Clark like a rookie who is going to be good in 10 years. No, they're treating her like a superstar who is good right now.
Cheryl Swoopes really thought she was dropping some major insights on the Gills Arena podcast. She hopped on the mic like she was about to spill top secret info, but all she ended up revealing was just how much her credibility has taken a hit. At this point, are we even shocked? Cheryl's out here throwing out hot takes like it's her side hustle, and if there were a Hall of Fame for terrible opinions, she'd be a first ballot, unanimous pick.